Hi, guys. Welcome back to the No One to Tell Us No podcast, a podcast where we share our life experiences and adventures and do our best to truly live life like there's no one to tell us no. I'm Courtney, and with me is my husband and amazing travel buddy, Charlie.
Hey guys, hope you're doing okay today. Today, we're going to talk about Philadelphia. We recently went on a quick trip to Philly, and we got there Thursday, we stayed Friday, and we left Saturday afternoon. We kind of want to talk about what we did. We're big on getting the best bang for our buck, and I think we did as much as we could in the amount of time that we had.
hmm
So let's talk about Philly. This is your first time going to like a big city, right?
Yes, this was my first time going to a bigger city than what I'm used to. I mean, living in Orlando, it's a pretty big city, but because we live on the outskirts, I don't really get into downtown very often, but going to Philadelphia was my first time kind of experiencing a larger city than what I'm used to because
Yeah,
I've never been to New York or anything like that.
yeah, I was gonna say New York is on the list, but you haven't been there. I went to Philly years ago when I was a kid. I think around 10, somewhere around that age, obviously with my family. So I've been there before. I remember bits and pieces of it, but
hmm
not too much. So it was fun, like going back and being like, "Oh, do I remember this? Do I remember that?"
hmm
and whatnot. You're talking about Orlando. You've experienced some like large city downtowns, but again, not as big a metropolis as like that.
hmm
Like downtown Orlando, for those of you who know, I mean, it's not really like a big typical downtown. It's just some office buildings, maybe some residential. There's some entertainment things, restaurants and whatnot, but it's not as abundant. We used to live in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's a whole nother conversation. And that downtown, very similar to Orlando, I think, where it's just
I
there for
agree.
a purpose of like work and things like that, a little bit of nightlife,
Yeah.
but not too much. So,
Once 5 o'clock hits, I think everybody just kind of goes and
yeah.
leaves, and then it's just kind of barren and empty.
But Philly was a whole different experience because it's like people live there, they work there, and they entertain themselves there. Like they have their entire community in this one city area. Obviously, there's probably some people that commute in and out, but
hmm
it's definitely a different community vibe than just like we're coming here doing an activity or coming here to work and then leaving.
hmm
So, yeah, it was a fun trip. I'm glad you got to experience something new, and we'll probably end up going back.
Oh, yeah. I would love
Um,
to go back because we didn't really do everything, but we did a good amount for the time that we were there, like you said.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So we flew Southwest out there, out of MCO to PHL, Philly. And that was an experience. I don't know if we want to talk a little bit about that first.
Well, first of all, I really like the MCO airport. MCO is the Orlando International Airport, and I just think it's nice and fresh and clean. I like the separation from the arrival where you get on the little tram or the people mover or whatever you want to call it over to like the terminal area. So it doesn't feel so crazy to me. I don't know. Some people might have a different opinion. Every time we've been to that airport, I've had a good experience.
I also feel like it moves pretty quickly for what it is with TSA and everything.
Yeah.
Parking can be a little bit of a hassle, but once we get through TSA and get on the little monorail people mover thing to get to your gate, it moves relatively quickly, and I
Yeah.
think they kind of have a good grip on things.
Yeah. But like she said, we flew Southwest. That was the first time flying like, I guess what people would call a budget airline, but I
hmm
wouldn't say Southwest is, like, the low end of the budget. I think you have, like, Frontier and
Spirit.
Spirit and Breeze and things like that that might be a little lower. Um, I think Sou I was impressed with Southwest.
Yeah.
I would fly it again,
hmm
um, and, yeah, there were some things that I liked, there were some things that I didn't like about it.
Yeah, I think overall it was a good airline for just a quick trip like what we did. I probably wouldn't fly it if I was going overseas or anything like that,
I don't think
but
they even go overseas. I'm
uh,
not sure about that, but
well, in general, I think it's good for just like maybe a 2 hour flight, max maybe 4 is what I probably would handle on that,
Mm.
because it is just all economy and just generic seating. And it is first come, first serve. But I believe they are changing that to where you can reserve your seat ahead of time. But I think that for us was kind of a different experience to just kind of pick your seat.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of next year in 2026, they are doing a little bit of changes. So, like, for me, Delta and American are like your standard airlines, and
Mhm.
like you have a lower end of that, and then you have higher end and even bougier airlines. But like the
Mhm.
Delta and American are like this is the standard, at least for me.
Mhm.
And like how on those airlines, when you buy your ticket, you pick your seat. Southwest is not like that. You just buy the fare,
Mhm.
and then you can do all these different add-ons and whatnot. And luckily, we didn't have to do that. We just took carry-ons,
Mhm.
and so it was just our ticket, and we just did the standard boarding process. But if you're not familiar with Southwest, you have to wait for them to call your group, and then when your group's called, then you can start boarding the plane, and it's first come, first serve. So every time we ended up in like the back three quarters of the plane,
Mhm.
and maybe you might be able to sit together, maybe you might not be able to. Luckily, we were able to sit together both
Yeah,
times. And the first flight, we had a whole row to ourselves.
we did. That was a luxury there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have like a family or multiple people in your group that you want to sit with, I would, I don't know, maybe try a different airline or try a different method,
Or you can
because
pay for the extra, you can
yeah,
pay an extra fee to get on first,
yeah,
which is one of those upgraded charges, which I'm not a big fan of. So, and it's just the two of us.
yeah. So we made it work, and we luckily were able to sit together on both our departure and arrival flights and everything.
I do think it's fun, like fun to mention the flight attendants
Mhm.
on the airlines were much more like
Oh, they were so
relaxed.
fun.
Like, they were trying to have fun with it. I mean, flying is, I mean, yeah, you're going to fun destinations, hopefully, and you're going to have a good time or you're going back home, but, like, the process to me is kinda like, "Can we just snap our fingers and be there? Do we have to do this?"
Mhm.
So, at least they were trying their best. I remember on the the flight out there, obviously, we had never flown Southwest before, and the first introduction into Southwest was the flight attendant. He had his own Bluetooth speaker and he was playing some like hip hop music coming in. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is new. And you turn to me and go, it's the carnival of the planes.
It's the carnival of the airlines. Because I mean, for those of you who maybe don't know, but Carnival is kinda known for being like the party cruise.
Yeah.
Um, it was a nice lighthearted introduction, I believe, to the flight, because some people, they get very nervous when they fly,
Yeah.
and for me, I think it was a nice little breath of fresh air. And when they were going over all of the safety things, they made it light and more fun. Of course, they gave you all the proper safety procedures and things. But as we were taking off, right before we got on the runway, the same guy who had the Bluetooth speaker, he came up over the
He was the
loudspeaker.
lead flight attendant.
Yes, and he was like, "Okay, guys, we're about to take off for real this time. Clench your butt cheeks, or do what you got to do." And so, just that type of attitude, I think it uh,
No, no.
gives
So
people
sorry.
a breath.
He said, "All right, we're turning onto the runway. Squeeze those cheeks."
There
That's
you
what he
go.
goes. Squeeze those cheeks.
Yes.
I just turned to Courtney and I just cracked up.
Yes, it was a very nice little lighthearted way to start our trip.
I think one of the things
Yeah.
Southwest does better though is their like little snack service and drink service. Yeah, I feel like everybody that's flown knows the big cart that comes down the aisle and blocks the way, and it seems like it takes forever. And they ask, "What do you want to drink?" and they go row by row. They did it differently. I didn't expect this, but they come by and like take your order, and she like
Mhm,
writes it down. She has like a seating map, or he has a seating map, and then they go to their prep area and they prep it all and then they come back and like serve you on a tray.
mhm.
So it seemed more efficient.
I agree with that. It was definitely more efficient, and I felt like I wasn't having to, like, I guess, stay awake, because I like to sleep on flights. I didn't feel like I had to stay awake and keep looking for the flight attendants, like,
Mhm.
where the cart was, and, like, making sure, like, I was ready for them. You could just give them your order, and then I don't know, maybe 10 minutes later at most.
It was much quicker.
Yeah.
I would
They
also say the snacks
Mhm.
are a little better.
I
They have,
agree.
like, a rotation of snacks,
Mhm.
and, I feel like when you fly on, like, American or Delta, it's just like, "Here's pretzels, and that's all we have." Or,
Mhm.
"Here are the Biscoff cookies," which I like Biscoff cookies, but, like, here's all you have.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah. The first one was, little cinnamon graham cracker cookies, similar to the Biscoff cookies, and then on the way back, there were these pretzels that were, like, seasoned, with something that was very good.
yeah, it's very tasteful. I remember looking at people and they were like, "Oh, this is good," and the flight attendant would come by and like, "Can I get another bag?" And they came by and had them like 10 bags
Yeah.
of the pretzels. It's like, "Oh, okay then."
Yeah. It was overall a good flight.
So once we got to Philly, um, temperature was a lot different. It was immediately cold. Obviously,
Mhm.
living in Florida for almost a year now, I feel like our bodies have acclimated to the hot
Yes.
and humid environment, which is fine with me. Love it.
Mhm.
As soon as we stepped off the plane, I think it was like 50 some degrees.
Mhm.
And we were like, "Oh, okay then."
Yeah, when we were packing, I looked at the temperatures and I was like, "Oh, I can handle, like, 50 degrees and just take, like, a light sweater," and then you very lovingly were like, maybe you need something a little heavier," and I'm glad I did pack a heavier jacket because at night it got cold
Yeah.
there.
It was cold and windy while
Yes.
we were there. But I think I know we're talking about landing in the airport, but, one funny thing that we came across in the airport when we were about to exit was the pigeons
Yeah,
inside.
airport pigeons.
They were just walking around, and I was like, "This feels like Philly.
Yep.
This feels like what Philly is supposed to feel like."
Exactly, and they, like, walked, like, right alongside people. They were not scared of the service dogs that were there, they were not scared of the humans. They just were doing
They're
their own
just
little
there. It
thing.
was just a funny moment to see, get off the plane, about to exit the airport, like, "Oh, there's just pigeons walking around.
Yep,
Okay." I will say the Philly airport, though, it definitely seems dated.
it does.
I mean, we're not heavily traveled, but the airports that we've been to across the country and up and down the East Coast, I feel like they're definitely updating them with times, and I feel like when we landed in Philly, I was like, "I feel like we're in the '80s."
Mhm,
And they were doing some upgrades, but it was like they had just started the
mhm,
upgrades,
yeah,
which was interesting to see, seeing how it's a large city. I feel like that's a large hub for people to go to, and I don't know, maybe they're just so busy that they don't have time or it's logistically hard to update, but it
yeah,
was just something to note that it's definitely an older feeling airport.
mhm, yeah. And once we got done at the airport, because we didn't have to check any bags, thank goodness, or anything like that, we got our Lyft ride to our hotel and we stayed at the Lowe's Philadelphia Hotel, which is in like Center City, which was really cool.
It's supposed to be like one of the premier hotels in the middle of Philadelphia, which was kinda cool.
Hmm.
Um, and what's kinda cool about this whole trip is that we kinda didn't pay for any of it.
Hmm.
Like, and we'll talk about that at the end, but we pretty much went for free other than paying for our food.
Yeah.
But at the end, we'll definitely discuss a little bit of how we did that.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to copy the same situation,
Yeah, we pretty much only paid for food and the activities that we did there. It was nice that our flight and our hotel were quote unquote free.
I will say we forgot to mention the big reason for going to Philadelphia in general was
Yes.
one of our friends was getting married.
Yes.
So we were invited to a wedding and we were going up there
Hmm.
for that. And we decided to make it a little fun extended weekend out of it. So that was
Hmm.
the ultimate reason for going. It just gave us a fun excuse.
Yeah, exactly. And the person that we went for their wedding, he was actually one of your groomsmen, which was kind of cool, little full circle moment.
Yeah, yeah. Childhood friend.
Um, but
But the
yeah,
hotel,
hotel. I liked it. I thought it was very uh, I would say on the bougier side of things, but there were some dated things that maybe they probably could have done a little bit better with. The main thing that I remember from the hotel is that it was very busy for the time frame that we were there. Like we said, we got there on a Thursday and then we left on a Saturday. And in the time that we were there, swear there was probably at least 2 conferences happening or
More than that.
conventions, and I think there were at least 3 weddings that were happening, like 3 wedding blocks, that were there too. So the lobby was always full, or there were always people at, like, the hotel bar. So it was just very busy no matter really what time of the day that you were popping in or leaving.
Well, you guys should
Yeah.
expect that from being, like, one of the premier hotels
Yeah.
in downtown Philly. It's like she said, it's centralized, it's smack dab in the middle of
Mhm.
downtown. Like, you walk out and turn to the left, and 2 blocks down is City Hall, so you're right in
Mhm.
the middle of it, so everybody's going there, and Lowe's is the company that owns that hotel, and they're
Mhm.
known for having nicer hotels. This was, I think, rated like a 4 diamond hotel,
Mhm.
whatever those ratings mean. It
Yeah.
sounds good. I will say the hotel, um, I believe what I could find was an old bank.
Mhm.
So the lower levels were like your standard bank. Like they still had the vault door like on display, like as a piece of artwork, just as a cool thing. We came across the wall of the old safety deposit boxes. So you can imagine like this being a central hub in downtown and a hotel company coming in and stripping it all down and turning it into hotel rooms. Because it
Mhm.
did feel like, okay, this wasn't originally a hotel,
Yeah.
and they turned it into a nice hotel.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
remember
yeah, overall, it was very nice. We stayed in a one king studio regular room. Nothing too fancy or anything. We were on, I believe, the 20th or 22nd floor.
high up there.
Yeah, we were pretty high.
High enough when you went up the elevator, your ears popped,
Yes.
especially for us that are used to flat land. And I will say the reason why we chose the hotel was because the wedding party, that we were going to was, had a block of rooms,
Mhm.
and, we'll talk about this a little later, but, we didn't end up booking with the block of rooms because we ended up being able to use, our credit card points to stay here for free,
Mhm.
essentially. So we had to book outside of the block, but we wanted to stay there because they were providing transportation to and from the wedding venues and receptions.
Yeah.
So we're like, that's a no brainer.
Yeah.
And also, it was nice because since we were there for a couple days, it was in walking distance to everything since it was
Mhm.
right in the center
Yeah.
of the city. But I will say the layout of the hotel was kind of interesting. And I wasn't the only one that thought this. Some old acquaintances and friends that we ran into at the wedding that were staying there thought the same thing. When we first walked into the main entrance, we were like, "Are we in the right, like, main entrance?" Because you're expecting a classic hotel entrance,
Yeah. I
and you were landed right into the lobby, like, bar and restaurant
Mhm.
with all the convention people in front of you, and you're like, "Is this correct?"
Yeah, it's almost like you're walking into, like, a convention center lobby and not this, like, grand 4 diamond hotel lobby that you would expect, like, this, like, moment when
Yeah.
you walk in.
And it was dark. It was
It
very
was.
dark in there, and I don't know if that's classic for, like, one of these high-rise buildings to that first level to be dark.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe that's a thing,
Set the
you know?
mood, you know?
Yeah. But, if I went back, that would be a contention, especially if I could stay there for free, but
Mhm.
there's probably some other little boutique hotels
Mhm.
that I'd probably look in around there. But anyway, probably
Yeah.
enough about the hotel.
Yeah. So when we got kinda settled, luckily, our room was ready, like, before the regular check-in time, so that was really nice. So we were able to drop off our stuff, kinda freshen up from the plane ride and everything, and then we went, and walked. It was, like, a good, like, 25-minute walk, but it was so worth it. We
Oh,
went
I was so
to
hungry
lunch.
too.
Yes, we went to lunch, and we went to a place called Angelo's Pizzeria, and I had found this place before we actually took the trip, but they are known for their cheesesteaks because when in Philly, you have to get a cheesesteak,
You
and
told me that
yes.
this was, like, one of the top 3 places in Philly to get a
Mhm.
cheesesteak,
Yes,
and
and
I love cheesesteaks,
mhm.
and you're not the biggest fan, but you'll definitely give it a try, and
Yeah,
I was like, "The number
I'm
one thing that we have to do in Philly is get a cheesesteak."
I am picky with my cheesesteaks.
Yeah,
I would
that's a
say
better
that.
thing.
Like, I'm kind of different. I don't love the cheese whiz or, like, the very thick cheese that they typically put on it. on a cheesesteak. I like provolone cheese on my cheesesteak. So it can be hard to find a place that does provolone cheese and not your typical like white American or like that like thick like kind of gets caught in the back of your throat cheese.
See, I've told you this before, but I love it's just like coating your mouth in the gooey cheese, and it's just the meat is coated in the cheese. That's just the way to do
I
it.
need like some separation in my cheese and meat. But this place I picked it because they specialize in making their own homemade bread, and it has amazing like sesame seeds on top, and the bread is like I said made in house. It's perfectly crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, the bread makes a difference,
It really
and, I
does.
mean, not only the bread, but the meat was quality. There were
Mhm.
no chewy pieces, like, it was nice and tender and cheesy. We both got onions and mushrooms and lettuce on it. Probably coulda done without the lettuce,
Yeah.
but these things are massive.
We also got mayo on
Oh,
them.
mayo.
Yep.
Gotta get mayo on your
Yep.
cheesesteak.
So that was something that was really cool too about this place is that you could customize your cheesesteak however you wanted, whatever cheese, whatever toppings, and they just did it for you. Whereas I feel like a lot of cheesesteak places that you go to is just like, this is how we make it. That's it. End of story. But this one was very customizable, which I like. Um, but yeah, it was so good. The only thing though is that it's cash only and there's no seating inside. So we had to get our lovely, basically like a 10-pound baby bag, is what it felt like.
It was like they handed it to us. We each got our own. We were so hungry. We were like, we're gonna each get our own, and why not?
Yeah.
Best cheesesteaks we'll probably ever have. And they handed us the bag, and I was like, oh, solid brick of
Yep.
meat and
I was
bread and cheese.
I was carrying it down the sidewalk like in my arms, like as if I was cradling a baby because it was just so heavy. And we ended up finding a little bench down the street that we just kind of parked ourselves at and ate. But it was so good, but so messy.
But worth it.
Oh yeah.
I can see though locals going there and getting that and
Hmm.
then taking that home.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, I wish I had like a table and a plate in front of
Hmm.
me instead of like a park bench. But still, the taste, you probably, I would say it's the best cheesesteak that I've ever had.
I would agree with that. That was the best cheesesteak ever, and it was so worth the walk. And oh, it was great.
Yeah, and, 20-minute walk wasn't that bad. It was kinda nice because we were going south of the
Hmm.
downtown area, and so we kinda ended up walking through, like, some more
Hmm.
neighborhood-focused areas, and so a lotta townhouses, row houses, smaller apartments,
Hmm.
you walk by some schools, some local shops, and things like that, and
Yeah.
so it was cool, and the restaurant was right in the middle. It was basically right across the street from a school and the park
Hmm.
and whatnot. So it was very like a community feel around there. Felt very safe to be there.
Hmm.
Like you said, there was no seating inside. So it was like you walk inside and you order at the counter, and then they text you when it's ready, and you pick it up and leave. And we got there between like 2 and 3 o'clock, and so we only waited about 15 minutes. But I've heard people waiting like 2 hours for that place
Yeah,
because it is so popular.
we hit it at the right time, kind of in between that lunch and dinner time frame. So if you're thinking about going for yourselves, definitely go more in that like in between
Yeah.
meals time frame because it was definitely a lot shorter line. Like I've seen videos on social media where the line literally to just place your order wraps around the building. So if you want to beat the congestion, maybe go during those in between times.
And I wonder how their pizza is because
A
they
lot of
have
people are
pizza.
getting that.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting the pizza. We just went there for the cheesesteaks because
Hmm.
we found out that was cheesesteaks. But Angelo's Pizzeria, if you're ever in
Yes.
Philly, take the time, drive, walk, wherever you are, go there
Hmm.
because that's gonna be a good cheesesteak.
Yes. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So after we got our cheesesteaks, we were walking around a little bit, making our way back to our hotel to kind of, again, freshen up and chill for a little bit. Um, but we decided to go on a ghost tour that night. So we booked our tour through Philly Ghosts. It's through a company called US Ghost Adventures. And that was such a good ghost tour.
But before that, real quick,
Oh,
before we get into the ghost tour,
yes.
when we left to go to the ghost tour, on the way there, we walked through Chinatown.
That is correct, yes. I keep forgetting we did Chinatown because we didn't really do much there. We just kind of walked the couple main streets, but we went into a couple of the grocery stores that are like the Asian food markets and saw just buckets of fish
Well,
and
I wanted you
yeah.
to go into one, and those of you that have been to New York City and been to Chinatown, you know what I'm talking about whenever I say, like, a Asian grocery store where they have everything
Mhm.
and stuff that you might not know what it is.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Chinatown in Philly is probably not as big and quintessential as New York City's Chinatown, but I was like, they're probably very similar in the way things are set up and how they do it. So I was like, "Oh, you gotta walk in at least a couple of these grocery stores just so you can see what
Yeah.
you've heard people talk about."
Yeah, and it was cool to kinda see all the different, foods and deli items and seafood things, just to see fish literally swimming around,
Literally, you can see your food
yeah.
swimming.
So, it was kinda cool, and we took some pictures, of some fun little spots, like, you took a picture of the fire department, because of the name of it.
Yeah, the fire department in Chinatown was called House of the Dragon.
Yeah,
I just love that. That's it's perfect.
it's great.
Like, why not, right? But,
So
if you guys aren't familiar with what we're talking about with, like, an Asian grocery store, like that, specifically, like, more of, like, a meat market where
mhm,
they have, like, poultry, pork, beef, fish, things like that.
and it's, like, the whole
They
fish.
don't really it seems like they don't waste parts of these animals.
Mhm.
So, like, you go to your typical grocery store and you have your normal cuts of steak and chicken and pork and whatnot and fillets of fish. But then here you've got the fish head, you've got
The chicken feet.
yeah, chicken feet, pig's ears, parts of cow that, like, you're not used to, and they use it all for different types of cooking, to make broths and soups, and some stuff is considered delicacies, in that culture, which is awesome. I love that they're not wasting anything. It's just
Mhm,
funny as, like, a typical American going in that is not used to seeing that kinda stuff in a grocery store. It's kind of fun to look around
mhm.
and, almost kinda like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, trying to figure out, like, what's that mystery item? But
Well,
they
sometimes it's not
yeah,
not labeled in English,
yeah.
so you're like, I don't know what that is."
Yeah, and then they have so all the meat I noticed was more inside, and then their produce was outside on the sidewalk, so they do separate it, and they are health conscious, like, for contamination
Oh, yeah,
things,
no,
but
it's perfectly fine. It's a normal grocery store. It's
yeah,
just, you know, different cultures
yeah,
or whatnot.
yep.
But I tell you what, walking around there and they had just the little restaurants, like 10 seats inside. Well, they have some bigger ones, but I was like, "Oh, if we were hungry right now, I would love to
Yeah,
stop in because there were some good looking restaurants in there."
yeah,
And it was fun to go to the end of the street and like look back and you have all the neon of the signs written in Chinese.
and they have, some things there that I would like to go to next time, but they have, like, the tea houses,
Mhm.
which looked really fun to go into, but they were all closed by the time we got there, and, we were also very full from food, so even if they were open, we were just too full, but it was a good little excursion, little walk
Yeah,
around.
on the way to the ghost tour is fun
Yeah.
to stop.
So, on the ghost tour, we saw a lot of really cool things. We saw the Liberty Bell. We saw, gosh, lots of more like historic homes, like from previous presidents and things like that. And we saw like the library that supposedly like Benjamin Franklin haunts, and
Yeah.
just it was a cool little ghost tour. That's something that in our travels, we like to take a ghost tour of whatever city we go to just because for me, it's a cool way to learn their history.
Ghost tours in cities has turned into, like, our thing that we do in a new city. I think almost every city that we've been to and visited has a ghost tour, and
Mhm.
sometimes you're like, "Oh, that city's not gonna have a ghost tour," and even
They do.
they have a ghost tour in downtown Orlando, and it's
Mhm.
like, what could have happened down there? But I think any downtown area that's, like, over 50, 60 years old,
Mhm.
there's gonna be some interesting stories that happen.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's so fun and we find it interesting is you can go to any museum in the city and learn about the history of that city. Or when you're growing up in history class or social studies class, you're learning about the history of America or the state that you live in and things like that. But these ghost tours give you an insight to different stories
Mhm.
that are not taught in a textbook or not
Mhm.
shown on display in a museum.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see that because he'll talk about Benjamin Franklin, and you're like, "I know who Benjamin Franklin is. We learned about that in school. I know who he is. I know the significance of him." And then you hear a different story
Mhm.
about things that aren't taught. And you're
Yes.
like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Mhm.
And so that's what makes it fun. And some of it is creepy. Some
Mhm.
of it is a fun story, a little spooky maybe, but, it all is part of the history, and
Mhm.
this company does a good job of researching what they're doing, so they're not making anything up. They're
Yeah.
not assuming anything. They do a lot of research to make sure they're
Mhm.
providing you with accurate information, showing you the correct landmarks, and just providing you with overall as almost probably accurate information as can be from all the stories passed down, everything in history books and whatnot. So I've been enjoying when we travel and go to different cities. You
Mhm.
started us on that and being
Yes.
very adamant on doing it, and I'm glad we do it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Um, because I ain't stopping.
Yeah, and it was cool because like Philadelphia in itself is a historic city.
Yeah.
So, like, we're talking all the way back to the beginning of the United States. So
Mhm.
you can imagine the amount of history that is there and the amount of weird
Like,
things that might have
unhinged
happened.
stories and
Yeah,
just the way that things came to be.
yeah.
It's just so
And in the
cool.
meantime, while the tour guide's telling the stories, you know, you mentioned some of the historic sites, you're kinda walking around and seeing those, like, when you mentioned we saw the Liberty Bell, we did walk by where the Liberty Bell is displayed, but there's a ghost story that goes along with it.
Yeah, the
Um,
whole idea is that the Liberty Bell is cursed,
yeah.
and I don't know, just the way our tour guide told the stories, he was such a good storyteller, like,
Mhm.
he just really brought you in, and I loved the almost, like, pettiness of some of the stories,
Mm.
the fact that, like and I could get the little minute details wrong, but the Liberty Bell was, something that we as the United States asked England or the
Yeah.
UK area to make after we had like kicked their butts
Yeah.
in the
"Hey,
revolution.
we just beat you in the war. Can you make us a bell to signify that we won?
Yeah. So
Thank you."
it's just like the pettiness, I guess, of it all. And then the idea is that they cursed it when they made it because whenever they rang it for the first time, it cracked, and then they fixed it, and no matter how many times they fixed it, it would crack. Is kind of the curse behind it. But yeah, it was really cool to kind of see all these like government buildings or old historic buildings from the founding times of
Yeah,
our
when, you know,
country.
yeah, and unfortunately, the time that we went was middle of October, right in the middle of October of 2025, and unfortunately, at this time, the government was shut down and is
Hmm.
currently still shut down, and so in downtown Philly, all these historic areas are operated by the Parks and Rec Service, which unfortunately is impacted by the shutdown.
Hmm.
So, we couldn't have gone in to
Yeah.
see those places anyway, so it was nice to get some of the story from the ghost tour, so maybe
Yeah.
when we go back in the future,
We can
we can go
actually
actually
see.
go in
Yeah.
and see those spots. One of my issues that I had when we were walking back, we were like, "We don't want a bite to eat." It'd been a while. before, since we had eaten lunch, our wonderful cheesesteaks, but we just
Mhm.
wanted something small. Why doesn't Philly have a diner,
Mhm.
late night diner downtown?
Yeah.
Like, it is a classic city thing, like a diner.
Mhm.
Like, we were looking for a place to eat, and everybody's like, closes in 5 minutes, or closes at this, or like it's pizza, or like cheeseburgers. And we're like, we weren't in the mood for that. We were like, what about just like a late night diner that serves like breakfast food? Like,
Mhm.
nope, not a thing. I'm like, somebody open up a classic diner in downtown Philly.
If you're in Philly and you are a business person, make this happen.
I mean, someone could benefit. Everyone could benefit from a diner, a
Yeah.
classic diner.
So, yeah,
But
we
on the
were
way back, we ended up stopping at this little Indian restaurant that had this quick serve Indian style wraps. It was pretty good.
yeah,
Decent bite. Nothing memorable, but
yeah.
just on the way back, a little late night.
I didn't really get anything. You kind of were the main one to get food from there. I just tried a Indian chai tea. Unfortunately, it was not for me. It basically tasted like pepper water, and it was not a traditional chai latte that I'm used to, so I had
I was like,
to
just go
forego
get you a
that.
mango lassi.
Yeah, so I got a little mango lassi drink, and, Charlie mostly got, the little Indian wraps and stuff, but, he said it was good, and it was nice that it was open late, but, the next day we did go to a museum that is not run by the United States Parks and Recreation.
But on the way there, that
Yes.
brunch.
Oh, yes. Before the museum, we went to a place called Winkle, and it's known for Dutch food. So
That's why it has an interesting name. Like, when you said Winkle when we were going, I was like, "That's interesting," and then you're like, "It's Dutch." I was like, "Oh,
oh,
okay.
okay. Yeah,
I gotcha."
so it was so good. The service was amazing. They were super nice, and you could really tell, anybody who came in there, it was almost like just regulars came in there, and, they would, sit down, the servers would, sit and talk. It was just their thing that they did, and, the food was oh my gosh, it was amazing.
It wasn't a fancy place or anything. It was
No.
just like a casual neighborhood Dutch breakfast brunch house. I
Mhm.
think that's all they did, right?
Yeah.
Breakfast and brunch.
We kinda did an appetizer of blueberry pancakes with bacon in the
Oh
batter.
my god. First of all, when the lady came over and asked if we had any questions, she said, "I would recommend the pancakes. We are voted number 1 pancakes in Philadelphia." And I
Mhm.
looked at her, I was like, "We gotta get the pancakes."
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
Like
They were so good. The blueberries were super fresh. The batter was, perfectly sweet, and then you mix in the bacon into it and made it like a sweet salty combo. Oh my gosh.
and, like, they
So
literally they were bacon and not bacon bits, like real cut up pieces of bacon.
mhm.
They put it in the batter
Mhm.
and then cook it like that,
Yeah.
and there was something about it that I was like, that is probably one of the best pancakes I have ever had."
Yeah, they were really good.
And I was like, "I never knew the Dutch were pancake
I
fanatics."
know. Who would have thought? So I got a salmon hash, and then you got a brisket Benedict,
Yeah, it
I
was a
believe?
brisket egg benedict.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Whenever I got it, it looked amazing, first of all,
mhm.
and it tasted just as good. Um, when they said brisket, I was a little concerned because sometimes you get hit or miss with the meat. And when they
Mhm.
brought it out and I took my first bite, being from North Carolina, from the South, if you wanna call it that, um, it tastes more of like a pot roast style meat to me. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay, this is what we would call a pot roast."
Mhm.
Um, but it had a different little flavoring of it. It had a little bit of vinegar flavor to it,
Mhm.
which pulled in, like, the flavors of Southern style or Eastern North Carolina barbecue, if you wanna get
Mhm.
exact, where it's vinegar based.
Yeah.
But it was very good. Eggs were perfect. It's on a nice toasted English muffin. I ate every bit of it.
Yeah.
Every single bit, and I think it came with, like, a side of potatoes. I definitely saved the last little bit of the pancakes. I was like,
Mhm.
"That's gonna be my finishing bite."
Yeah, see, I had no self-control and I just ate my pancake, first thing. But my main dish was the salmon hash, and Y'all, this was so good. It was salmon on potatoes with these like mustard onions. They're called Amsterdam onions. They're basically like these marinated onions that are like kind of like pearl sized onions, but they marinate them and they're meant to be like kind of like a bar food when you're like drinking your beer and
Mhm.
whatnot. But it also had a sunny side egg on top, and then it came with toast. And so I chose pumpernickel, but it was so good. I just the flavors were just amazing. The smokiness, there was like a mustard cream sauce, the onions, the potatoes, like it was just a perfect like hearty dish. And then you had the sweetness of the pancakes.
We ate everything. We were good kids, and we cleaned our plates.
You did. I unfortunately did not. I
Oh,
left a
that's right.
little
It
bit.
left a little bit. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I
I
cleaned
was
my
not a
plate.
member of the clean plate club.
So after brunch, we decided to eat early because we were going to the wedding that
Yeah,
night.
the
So we
wedding
were
was that night,
yeah,
so
so we
we
were
ate
gonna
early.
yeah, eat something early. On the way to the museum that you mentioned earlier after brunch, we were walking through uh, the downtown area, a different part that we hadn't walked through yet, and we happened to walk by the Curtis Institute of Music,
Mhm.
and that might not be significant to a lot of people, but if you are any kind of music person, probably more on the range of classical, but it is one of the more significant music schools that people
Mhm.
can attend in the entire world.
Yeah.
A lot of people are familiar with Juilliard School of Music in New York. We're talking about the same level.
Mhm.
Some may even rank it a little higher.
It's very
It's
prestigious.
very, very prestigious, and I remember my dad is a music teacher, he's a violinist, teaches orchestra, and plays other gigs and performances as well, and I remember growing up hearing him talk about it,
Mhm.
and, yeah, it was just cool to pass by because I mean, there are a lot of significant, well-known artists
Mhm.
that were right there
Yeah.
learning how to play. Not learning how to play, but perfecting their craft.
Yeah. And, on the way by, we saw, I believe it was like a violin shop or repair shop
Yeah, a few
or
blocks down is, like, coincidentally,
yeah.
there was a violin shop. It's
Yeah.
just cool to see. You don't really see stuff like that anymore, like all
Mhm.
the stripped down violins hanging in the window or violas and cellos as well too.
Mhm.
There's no strings on them. There's no varnish, things like that. Things are being
Mhm.
repaired and built, so it's just cool to
Yeah.
see that kinda stuff
Yeah.
and on, like, a little quaint street. You never know it was
Yeah,
there.
it was very unassuming. So they had, like, the little banner flags hanging from the light posts and stuff. So, like, unless those were there, you would have never thought that this was, like, one of the most prestigious music schools on the planet. So, that was really cool to see.
Yeah. So we after that, we
We
or
finally got to the
yeah, we
museum.
finally got to the museum.
So, this museum is called, it people pronounce it differently, so I apologize in advance if I mispronounce it, but we heard anything from Mutter to Muter to, what I looked up last night, it's technically Mutter, like
Most people
scooter.
will call it the Mutter Museum.
Yeah, basically, it's like a museum of the history of healthcare, essentially, like, and just the history of medicine.
Well, I wanna get this correct because it's part of a college. Okay, it's part of the College of Physicians of Philadelphia. So they have a whole building dedicated, and they basically turned this area into a museum. But it was founded in 1787. So you can imagine what healthcare and science and discovery in the medical field might have been like back then.
Oh, yeah.
So there were artifacts and displays from back from 1787 and maybe
Mhm.
even before then.
Yeah,
It's just saying this college was founded in 1787,
right.
but there were things on display that were older than that.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And, just imagine in your mind what the medical world was like when people didn't know what the inside of a body looked like, and they had to figure it out by literally opening somebody up
yeah,
and discovering what is in there, what's going on. And basically, that's kinda what this museum is based off of, but it ends up turning into, like, the weird side of that.
Yeah, so real quick, a little trigger warning for anybody who is maybe squeamish. We will be talking about like body parts and um, different, maybe not gory, but just
There's some disabilities, there's some kind of, we're not obviously not gonna show anything. There's some graphic
depictions.
descriptions
Yeah.
that we might talk about there in the museum. To lead it off, when we got our ticket to go in, they asked us to please kindly refrain from taking pictures of anything
Mhm.
out of respect,
Mhm.
because a lot of the stuff in there is human remains.
Mhm.
And so I can see why a lot of people might not be too interested in going in there, but it's just something fascinating. And when we were walking around, I was like, I've been here before. And then
Mhm.
I finally saw a display and I was like, oh, I've been here with my parents when we came back when I was about 10 years old.
Yeah.
I don't remember hardly anything from it. So it was great to go back
Yeah.
and see it again, because now that I'm older,
Mhm.
I will remember it
Yeah.
and I probably can appreciate it a little bit more than a 10-year-old child.
Mhm.
And I don't think I could understand what some of the things that I was looking at when I was 10 years old too.
Mhm.
But, yeah, it was very interesting. So, kinda what I was saying on the more interesting side of things, you have your classic medical history and how people learn what things are, but what about those weird things that happen
Like the weird diseases.
in the medical world? And think about, like, back in the 1600s, 1700s, even 1800s, and even early 1900s, when something unusual medically would happen to a person, people in the community didn't know what it was,
Mhm.
and people would be freaked out by it. They would think that they're a witch or,
Mhm.
like, doing witchcraft, or they were a demon or something like that.
Yeah.
So this museum is dedicated to these scientists and medical professionals that wanted to figure out what these conditions were. And
Mhm.
obviously, nowadays, we know that it wasn't witchcraft, it wasn't demonic
It was just
things
yellow fever.
happening. It was just things that we hadn't discovered yet,
Yeah.
diseases and symptoms. And there were things like, conjoined twins.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing that for the first time and not understanding what's going on and trying to figure that out, and so stuff like that was on display. Do you wanna mention some other things?
Yeah, so some of the memorable exhibits for me, so you walk in to like a two-story little exhibit room, and the first thing that you walk into is this mummified woman, and I can't remember all the details of like how she came to be and stuff, but she's kind of like, I guess, the mascot in a way.
They found her, like,
Yeah.
buried in Philly, I believe. I don't remember all the stories, but that is kinda your introduction
Yeah, like, that's the
as
first thing you see. You look at her and she still has the hair, you can still see, like, skin texture and everything. She was essentially mummified, and then you walk a little bit further, and there's just a wall of human skulls, um, floor to ceiling, probably, oh my gosh, how f long? Maybe 50 feet?
I would
Like
say there were over 200 skulls
yeah,
there. It was pretty neat to see, and then when you got up close, they were all labeled.
yeah,
So, it was a collection from a scientist, and I do not remember his name, but, he collected skulls from around the world and wanted to put them, I guess, on display to show what happened to this person when they
mhm,
passed away.
yep,
And they were labeled things like, you had everything from this person passed away from just normal old age,
mhm,
or this person was shot in the head by a musket.
yeah,
I think my favorite one out of all of them, it literally just said idiot.
yeah,
And I understand what that means. Like, there might have been
like an
um
intellectual
intellectual
disability.
disabilities,
Yeah.
but I feel like that term has transitioned into something else in today's society.
Mhm.
But just seeing that word, like, in quotations, I was like, "Well, okay,
Yeah.
rude."
Yeah. But there's, like, every like and it wasn't just adult skulls, there were children's skulls,
Yeah,
and some of them, they either were the person's name or the skull was named. It had their birth and death dates on some of them, um,
cause of death.
cause of death, the age of their death, and it just was kind of, like, eye-opening to see, like, all the different ways, like, that people like, a lot of them were hanged,
Yeah,
for crimes that they committed. Some were related to, infections or, for those of you who've played Oregon Trail, dysentery, um,
yeah,
things like that.
that one came up quite often, but the more gruesome the death was, definitely had an impact on their skull, like, whenever, like, attacks if they were attacked and hit in the head by something, or
Yeah.
they fell and hit their face on something,
Mhm.
or a disease was corroding
Their
their
jaw.
jaw area
Mhm.
or whatnot, that was where it became, "Wow, okay."
Yeah.
It's, it was very interesting to see.
Yeah, and it
Um,
kind of was almost humbling too,
yeah,
because they like Charlie said, they didn't want you to take pictures or videos because it was actual human remains. So when you go through this exhibit and through the different, see the different items and body parts and things like that, it kind of takes you back a moment to just be like, wow, like I'm so lucky to live in a world where modern medicine is available.
yeah.
And
Well,
uh,
you could feel a sense of, respect from everybody that was in
hmm
there. I feel like a typical museum, there's, like, this murmur of everybody talking. It was very quiet in
it
there. Everybody's
was,
just reading things, and, of course, you have, like, a few children in there that, are not being as respectful. Hopefully, as they get older, they'll understand, but
yeah,
for the most part, it's a different museum that you're going into, but,
hmm
I would say one of the most interesting ones, and I don't know why this is probably the most interesting one to me, but the 8-foot colon.
yeah, that was a shocker.
Yeah. So this man unfortunately passed away because he had an enlarged colon,
Hmm
and I guess whenever he passed away, they removed his insides and found that his colon had enlarged and stretched to be
hmm
8 foot long. And you look at it, they had a picture of him,
hmm
and I cannot imagine just living with something that big inside my abdomen area.
Yeah, think of like I guess the easiest way I can think of to describe the size of what it looked like from the picture was, um, this gentleman looked like he was, like, pregnant with twins, is
No, no, more
essentially.
like 8 children. Do
Yeah.
you remember the lady on the news a while back? I
Oh,
mean, this
yeah.
was years ago. She had
Yeah.
octuplets.
Yeah.
It looked like that,
Yeah.
and obviously he wasn't pregnant.
Yeah.
He was pregnant in a different way. But he, of course, you read into it, and there was a symptom which caused him to be constipated, and he couldn't use the bathroom as frequently, and unfortunately, it led to backups and enlargements, and unfortunately led to his passing.
Mhm.
But it's just interesting to see stuff like that, and I feel like nowadays we can catch that kind of thing
Yeah.
and help repair or provide medicine
Yeah.
and help fix things like that. It's just, wow, we're going to display this person's colon.
Yeah.
And but yeah, tons of other things. I mentioned the conjoining twins. So did you have something?
For me, I think one of the most interesting or memorable pieces of the exhibit was the advertising and marketing of medicine and medical practices throughout history.
Yeah.
It was a room where there was like a lot of like posters and old medicine bottles and things like that to show the history of how things like came to be with like prescriptions and uh, over the counter medicines and things like that. And it showed like a timeline of when things got either enacted or approved in the United States. And I was like, wow, that just happened in the 70s.
Yeah, some of the stuff is amazing to see. It's like oh, there wasn't any regulation on some of this stuff until then.
Yeah.
And she's talking about, like, people in the early 1900s and late 1800s making a concoction, bottling it, and selling it as, like, "This is the cure-all for everything,"
Yeah, it
and the ingredients in some of them are, like, nothing. It is basically, like, flavored water, but
yeah,
then some of them are, like, that's kinda like poison
yeah.
that you're feeding people and calling it a cure-all.
Well, there was the one lady that, she made this drinkable liquid or something that she marketed it towards moms and to the children
Mhm.
for, like, colic and things like that, and, it had, traces of, like, cocaine in
Yeah.
it and, like, morphine, and
They're like, "Why are
eventually
all these people dying from
yeah.
drinking this?" And I think she was, like, taken to court and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
she was definitely, like, arrested and charged and everything, but what I found was interesting is that the medicine wasn't completely abolished or taken away or not sold anymore until, like, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, wow, like, just the propaganda behind medicine too, like, "Oh, you need this, it's gonna make you feel better," and
Yeah.
that whole,
Almost every headache medicine, 100 years ago that was advertised had what now today has is illegal drugs.
yes.
They're like, "This is gonna oh, of course it makes you feel better."
Yeah.
Like, you're high.
Yeah, so that was that to me was really interesting.
Real quick, I just wanna mention one thing about the medicine and,
Mm,
so-called medicine. The advertisements they showed, like,
mhm,
drawings and prints of what would be out, and it was
yeah,
very, like it actually looked cool.
yeah,
Like, it almost like it was like some of it was like a comic book
mhm,
type, illustration. Some of it was very, like if a kid looked at it, they would be like, "Oh, that is interesting to me,"
mhm,
and it was the start of the marketing of medications and supplements and things like
mhm,
that. Even if they didn't work, it was the beginning.
yeah,
But you mentioned the timeline of when things were enacted and laws came into place. She's talking about because of all this and people developing these so-called drugs and things to take to make you feel better or make you look different or whatnot, that's what enacted all the legislation. That's why the Food and Drug Administration is in place now,
mhm,
because people were being sold things that were harming them.
right,
And that's why commercials for medication nowadays look like the way they are.
yeah,
And the end of it has a giant disclaimer.
yep. May cause infinite
But some of the you were talking
symptoms.
about some of the other things that were interesting in the museum.
Yeah, so, the next thing that I felt like was really cool was there were these drawers of just things that people have either ingested or inhaled into their body. So, like, anything from, like, nuts, like tree nuts, to screws, to
Lots
needles,
of pieces of metal.
lots of metal, fake teeth, was another one.
Oh, yeah.
Um, just lots of really interesting things that I was like, "Wow, somebody either
Somebody
in."
had that in their body.
Yeah,
But you have to imagine back then when, like, you were, like, hands-on working,
yeah,
you were working with metal, you were farming, debris was all around you,
yeah,
and I'm sure OSHA was not a thing, you were not wearing personal protective equipment,
yeah.
and so, things happened.
Mhm.
But I love it was like one person's collection of,
Yeah.
"This is what I have removed from people's bodies."
Yeah, it was crazy, and then, like, there were also, like, molds or casts of different to show you what maybe different diseases look like, one had, like, a huge wall of, like, different eye diseases, like,
Mm,
everything from pink eye to glaucoma to, I don't know, all the things. Then there were, like, different skeletal diseases, there were, uh again, trigger warning for any, like, moms or people who maybe are affected by uh, gynecology type topics. There were preserved fetuses and infants, and just showing like different fetal diseases.
mhm.
So, skin diseases, all the things that you can think of. But it was just really cool and um,
It's sad
humbling.
at the same time, but
Yeah.
and when you mean cool, it's interesting because somebody had to have the guts to say, "Yes, you can have these remains," and the person was like, "Yes, I want to, for science, dive into what's going on."
Mhm.
Because without that, we would not be where we are, like, today with helping people,
Yeah.
and, so it's cool, but, like, I a couple other things that were interesting. I know I keep mentioning the conjoined twins, but, like, they're talking about, like, this is new to us, and, like, can we separate them? Can we not separate
Mhm.
them? And learning, like, some conjoined twins are not like the others. If they share certain organs, they can't disconnect them, you know,
Yeah.
and learning all about that. They had skeletal examples of, like, somebody with dwarfism,
Mhm.
or somebody that was very, very tall, like 7 foot 6 inches tall,
Yeah.
and the comparison and just seeing their bone structure, and, like,
Mhm.
why somebody with dwarfism can't always have a child,
Mhm.
or why a person that's extremely tall is going to have issues with their back or their legs later on in life,
Yeah.
and learning about that. And I can't imagine being a human back then and having something like that,
Mhm.
and people not being able to understand.
Or not
Like,
being able
they
to help.
but no, but you're walking around, you're trying to live your life, and people are like, "What's wrong with you?"
Mhm.
Like, because you don't look like everybody else.
Yeah.
Now,
Judgment.
yeah, luckily nowadays, and because I know I keep saying this, because of science and everything, we know what things are, and we know why things happen, and so a lot of times we can help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many displays that were in there. I would recommend, if that's something that anybody's interested in.
Yeah.
It's a different side to it.
Mhm.
I It's not your typical medical history, medical museum.
And they also had, displayed, not in the human remains area, but in a different part of the museum, of the tools that they used
Oh, yeah,
for
that was
things.
interesting.
Like, they showed, like, the progression of eyeglasses, the progression of hearing aids, the progression of the baby bottle, and just other tools like that.
My favorite was the baby bottle with
Oh, the
the
thermometer.
thermometer, like, attached to it. It's like, while you're feeding your child milk, go ahead and take their temperature, and I'm like, if that child bites that.
Well, it was to take the temperature of the milk, but
Oh,
the
that makes
fact
more sense.
yeah,
But then you're still but
but
still the child's gonna drink out of it
well, the child was drinking out of the bottle and there's mercury, like, right
right next
next
to
to
it.
it, so,
Yeah.
like, that to me would be a little concerning as a parent, but
Yeah, to just to think that we didn't think about those
yeah.
things back then, and then see, like, the medical equipment that was used
Yeah, like
then,
scalpels, saws, all the
or
things.
just, like you mentioned, gynecology. Oh gosh, that's a mouthful.
Gynecology.
There you go, equipment. Sorry, my tongue was getting twisted there. Equipment that was used.
Yeah,
But
for,
even
like
not just that, like, imagine being in the doctor's office then, and them coming at you with these tools, and you'd be like, "What are you about to do to me?"
yeah, because back then they didn't have, like, anesthesia and stuff, like
They might have, but it would've been a lot different.
yes, yes. But yeah, it was a really interesting take on
Mhm.
another history thing that is unique.
Abnormal history.
Yes,
Kinda like we had the theme going with the
we
ghost
really
tour
did.
and the abnormal.
Listen, it's October, or it was October at the time. We were into the, spooky
Yeah.
vibes of it all. Um, but yeah, so overall, the Mutter, however you wanna pronounce it, that museum, definitely worth a visit if you're not squeamish.
Yeah, and it
Um,
doesn't take long. I think we
no,
were there about 2 hours.
we were there for 2 hours. We did kinda start to rush at the end,
Mhm.
just because we had to get back to the hotel to get ready for the
Yeah.
wedding.
If you wanted
Um,
to read every single thing, you could be there for 5 hours
yeah.
easily.
Yeah, because they had also a, COVID walkthrough area, and they also had a medicinal garden that we walked through. But we didn't take a lot of time in either of those. But overall, the main museum part was definitely worth going to,
And we
I
did
think.
get they did have a gift
They
shop.
did.
Of
I
course.
got a shirt.
You got a really cool shirt. I
Yeah.
really like it. It fits your style. The graphic's too big for me.
Yeah,
It was a display of the Wall of Skulls, and
and
when I
it's
saw
a
it, I pointed at you, and because of the type of music we're in, like hard rock, punk rock, heavy metal, and stuff like that, I looked at that and I was like, "That is very, like, punk
yeah,
rock-esque."
'cause it's a skeleton looking at the skeleton head, so it's
Yeah.
kinda like, "Well, that's kinda morbid."
Yeah. It was very cool.
But
I think we have a picture of it on Instagram of
yeah,
you holding it up.
but yeah, so we did that, and then we kind of quickly made our way back to the hotel to get ready for the wedding, and
Well, we gave ourselves plenty of time
yeah.
too, and we walked a different route back to the hotel, which led us
Mhm,
down the business district
mhm,
where all the newer, high-rise, fancier glass and metal buildings were, and
mhm.
so it was cool to see, like, what that area looked like. Nothing too, like, memorable about
Yeah,
it. I mean, people go to work and it was Friday during the
yeah,
workday, so people were busy working. But it led us down to the, city hall area. And that was a unique city hall
yeah,
because the roads, not the drivable roads, but walking routes, walk through the middle of the building.
yeah,
It was a very big and cool looking building,
mhm.
that have a picture of that on Instagram as well too from that trip. So it's cool to kind of see that how that
Yeah,
was set up.
and there was, like, a huge courtyard in the middle of it, and just the immaculateness of it all,
Yeah, it was
like
very. I wouldn't expect that to be the city hall,
mhm. Yeah,
but after that we got back to the hotel, got changed to our fun fancy attire.
yep.
Um, and then, fortunately enough, we had the shuttle to and from our fun night at our friend's wedding, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
We went to the. I'm gonna let you pronounce it because I keep messing up the name of this church.
Oh, well, we pronounced it Saint Augustine, but when we got there, the person that greeted us said Saint Augustine.
Yeah,
Um, so whichever way it's pronounced,
yeah.
but it's a very pretty Catholic church.
Mhm.
Lots of stained glass, painting on the ceiling. The architecture was just
It
amazing.
was a perfect backdrop
Yeah,
for their wedding.
yeah.
They had a Catholic wedding.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yes.
Um, but they had their reception at a different area.
Mhm.
And if you guys are ever having a wedding in Philadelphia and you want to invite us, go ahead and have your reception at this place. And I'm gonna let you say it again because I keep forgetting the name of it.
So this place, it was called the Chescafee Ballroom. It was so gorgeous. Like, there was a beautiful little courtyard when you first go in. There's, like, a nice little cocktail room with, like, a bar and, like, seating. It gave me almost, like, cigar room vibes, like, of the lighting and stuff, but it was very pretty, very well done. Then there's the main ballroom that has, like, the stairs leading down to it, very fairy tale-esque vibes.
It was a great venue to have a reception.
Yeah.
And apparently they do it like that for everybody.
Yes.
And oh my god, there was so much food and it was
Yeah.
great. Like for foodies, we were like, yeah, if anybody else wants
Yes,
to get
please.
married here, please invite us back anytime. But it was a good night and
Mhm.
congratulations to both of them. It was a
Yes.
fun night. We enjoyed it very much.
Lots of dancing and good food, and my feet were killing me by the end of the night, but
Yeah, it
it
was
was
fun to
so
run
worth
into
it.
people. He was more my childhood friend, so I was able to run into people that I hadn't seen in years.
Mhm.
So it's always fun to be able
Yeah.
to catch up and do stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that basically concluded that night, and which
Mhm.
will lead into our last and final day,
Mhm.
which we didn't have much time, but we took advantage of what we had.
Yeah. So we checked out of our hotel, and then we went to a place called the Reading Market, uh,
The Reading Market Terminal.
Terminal, and, we got so much food there. It was just nonstop food. I'm gonna
But
let you describe it all
well,
'cause
to preface, it is a historic area.
Mhm,
It takes up a block at an
mhm.
intersection, a whole entire block. It's indoors, and it goes back 100 years back when they used to trade, and it was your old classic market, and it
Mhm.
has since evolved into what we would now think of or want in a society as a market. It was basically like a big food hall.
Mhm.
But,
With a
they
grocery
also
store.
but they also did have, like, grocery stores. You could, like, go get your fresh produce, fruits and vegetables.
Your
There were
deli.
your deli meats. You could go get meat from the meat market, and the butcher was there. So there were those things, but then there were also little restaurants throughout, like, you could sit down and eat, and this is so hard to describe because, like, I mean, it's a giant food hall, and
Mhm.
how many different vendors do you think
Oh
were
my
in there? I
gosh.
would say at least 50,
I would say at least 50, yeah.
round about that number, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, and they all had a small space, but there were a lot of them were counter service, some of them had a few, like, diner style seating,
Mhm.
but it was so good.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it goes back to older times when this was a market where people sold
Mhm.
their goods and wares and was a centralized place in downtown Philadelphia. And since Philadelphia has grown and society has modernized, obviously, and we're in 2025, it has turned into this food hall. So we had the luxury of taking a couple hours and
Mhm.
eating our way around.
Yes, it was great. In no particular order of what we ate. Oh my gosh. Like, we had so much stuff.
Our first place was a little Mediterranean place, and what caught my eye there was they had some drinks. They had, like, smoothies or, like, juices, and it
Mhm.
was all fresh pressed juices, like, it
Mhm.
could be fruit juices or vegetable juices, and I wanted to get a peach and guava smoothie.
Mhm.
It was perfect. It
Oh
was a
yeah.
nice, refreshing thing to get. I would go back and get it
Oh
again. I
yeah.
would try I would it was hard because everything looked so good,
Yeah.
but it was definitely we split everything.
Yeah, we pretty much split everything
Yeah,
that
so
we
we could
could.
try more.
Um, so we also got these donuts from a place called Baylor's Donuts. I got a Dutch crumb cake because I was in like, from the day before's breakfast, I was like, I'm in a Dutch mood. Like,
Yeah,
so I got a Dutch crumb cake. You got like a filled maple bacon
a maple bacon donut, like,
donut,
and it was filled with I forgot what it was filled with.
like a mapley cream
Yeah,
or something.
but one of the shocking things about this place is how cheap it was. We got 2
Hmm.
donuts,
Hmm.
and it was like $3.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound like normal, but we live in Orlando,
Yeah.
and, like, things are higher priced here
One
because
donut is
it's
like
tourists.
$5.
Yeah. I mean, these could easily sell for more,
Oh, yeah,
but they
100%.
tasted so fresh and so
Mhm.
good.
They had, like, the Baylor's donuts, they had a bakery, there was one other thing that they had that was, like, Baylor's named, but it was just endless
Everything that they had made looked so good, and they were
and oh
making
my
it
gosh.
all right there, and there was
Mhm.
a line.
Oh, yeah. It
I
wrapped
mean,
around the stall, like, it
yeah.
was great. Um, so we got that, then we went to, we actually were able to sit down for this place, it was called Denick's. Oh,
This
man.
place was interesting because, okay, Philly is known for its cheesesteaks.
Yes.
And when we were taking our ghost tour, the guy that was leading us, he was kind of talking to us a little bit before we started, and he found out we went to the Angelos and got the cheesesteaks, and he was like, "You need to try this sandwich from Denick's."
Mhm.
And he was like, "It's like a staple," and I was like, "I have never heard of this being as a staple in Philly," but it was a roast pork and broccoli rabe sandwich,
Mhm.
and I'm like, that first of all, that's a weird combo, roasted
Mhm.
pork and broccoli.
Yeah.
And, but they were like and another person in their group was like, "Oh, yeah, you gotta do it." And so we walking around the terminal and we saw it and we are like, "All right, let's
Let's
give
do
it a
it.
try." And but when we sat down, we were looking at the menu, which was up on a board. And we're like, "Where's what they're talking about?" Because it had the items listed out,
It had,
but
like,
then it said
pork.
greens.
Well, it had, like, only, like, 5 items, like, it had the pork sandwich, a roast beef sandwich, like, a chicken,
Yeah.
and just a veggie sandwich,
Mhm.
and then it had, like, your toppings of cheese or whatever else, but
Yeah.
you were mentioning the greens.
There were people sitting down, and we were like, "Is this the place to get the roast pork and broccoli rabe sandwich?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, this is it."
Yeah.
And they were like, "You wanna get it like this and this," and we sat down, and the lady took our order, was like, "We'll take it however he just said it." And, and I told them the gentleman that was sitting next to us, I recommended it, I was like, "Yeah, I was confused because it says greens on the menu, and we're from North Carolina originally, and greens to us is collard greens,
Mhm.
but there it means broccoli,
Broccoli rabe. Yeah.
broccoli rabe."
Yeah.
Um, but I tell you, they brought it out, and oh my gosh, it was so good. It
Yeah.
was so flavorful.
Yeah.
It was served. They put some like jus on top of it.
Mhm.
They called it served wet. You can
Yeah.
get it with or without the jus.
Mhm.
Um, but it just had the meat, the roasted pork, which was perfectly flavorful,
Mhm.
and had the jus on
It
top.
wasn't fatty, it
Yeah,
was just nice, good quality, and then the
it had
jus
some
and
fresh cut
cheese.
cheese, and it had the broccoli rabe,
Mhm.
and then they actually put the long peppers on for us, which are a little too hot for me. But what was nice is we were able to just take them off, and it still left the juice of the spice
Yeah.
on it. And oh, that was, I mean, next in line to the Philly cheesesteak, that
Mhm.
was my second favorite thing.
Yeah.
That was
I
so good.
I agree.
Yeah. I know we're
Um
harping on a roasted pork sandwich, but yeah, if you ever go to the Reading Terminal Market, go to Denick's.
And so then we also got some little bao buns from a
Mhm.
place called Bao Bun Studio. I got the Mongolian beef bao bun, and you got the curry chicken bao bun.
Yeah. I did take a bite of yours and you took a bite of
Yeah,
mine.
and they were both really good.
Yeah.
No complaints.
They, not my favorite thing that we had, but not
Yeah,
saying that it wasn't good. Like,
yeah,
these were good. Like, if you're like, "You want a bao bun?" They had so many different flavors. I was like, "Oh, I don't know which one to choose."
and they are more of like the taco style bao bun, not
Mhm.
the like filled pinched top bao bun.
Mhm.
So just so you guys know,
But they
but
had a lot of, it wasn't just, like, the meat. Luckily, they had, like, a lot of toppings on it,
mhm,
and, it provided a lot of good texture and a lot of good flavor, and it
yes.
was small, so we could continue eating.
Mhm. Yep. And then, we kinda went back to, like, getting a sweet thing, so we got, there was, like, a strawberries place there.
You walked by it the first time.
Yeah.
We walked through the whole place once to just get an idea, and
Mhm.
when we walked by it the first time, it was one of the first places we walked by, you went, "I want that."
Yep, I'm getting that. So, if y'all are familiar with the viral Dubai strawberries and chocolate combo thing, it was kinda like that. It was very fresh,
But
whole
It
strawberries.
wasn't the Dubai chocolate.
No, it wasn't Dubai chocolate, it was, like, Belgian chocolate.
They called it Belgian chocolate ganache.
Yes, but, the vibe was still the same. It was, strawberries in a cup with the chocolate sauce, and then you could get it with either just the chocolate, or you could just get it with whipped cream
Or
and
just
whipped
a
cream.
cup of strawberries.
Exactly. The options were endless, but we got it with the chocolate and the whipped cream because it was homemade whipped cream,
Yeah,
not just Ready Whip.
at first, I was like, "I don't know if I want whipped cream," and the guy goes, "It's homemade," and I was like, "Alright."
Yeah.
And when I tell you, like, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if it was just the chocolate,
Mhm.
because something about the whatever they did to that whipped cream,
Mhm.
mm, I mean, I don't even know how to describe what the whipped cream
Yeah.
tasted like and did to it, but it just added so much, and they layered the chocolate and the whipped cream through nicely, so you're almost every bite had some of it.
Yeah.
It was just a perfect little,
Like sweet treat, but it was fresh.
and they were good strawberries. I was like,
Yeah.
"We're in downtown Philadelphia, and we're getting, like, the sweetest strawberries I've
Mhm.
ever had."
Yeah, they were nice and fresh and very bright and, oh my gosh, just perfect. Perfect.
But then
Um,
apparently, and I feel like I'm silly for not knowing this, but apparently Philadelphia is known for their pretzels,
oh, yeah.
and, something new that I learned, but we were like, "Hey, we're about to leave, let's get a pretzel," and there was a
Mhm.
long line for this pretzel place
Yeah.
called Miller's Twist,
Mhm.
and all they did was make different variations of pretzels,
Yeah.
and everybody was in line, so we were like,
Yeah.
"We just got a classic pretzel with some
Mhm.
salt on it, got a little packet of mustard," and it was the consistency all the way through was perfect, the perfect amount of salt.
Mhm.
If you're looking for just, like, dough and salt,
Mhm.
that is the place. I know it sounds like it's just a pretzel, Charlie, but it was a good pretzel.
It was nice and fluffy, but a little bit crispy on the outside. It was, like, warm, like, it was no, like, Auntie Anne's Who. This was an elite
And
pretzel.
again, it was $3
Yeah.
and some change.
Yep.
And I was like, "Phew, I'd be here all the time."
I
I
know.
was like I told her after we left that place, the terminal in general, I was like, "It's a good thing that we don't live, like, a block away,
We'd
because
be coming all the time.
it would be dangerous
Yep.
to be living that close."
Oh, yeah, 100%. But to cap everything off, we got, kind of a Southern staple, I guess. We got some banana pudding, but we got the kind, it was from a place called Sweet Nina's.
She makes everything
Mhm.
there herself,
Fresh.
and you're like, "Philadelphia, banana pudding, you're not in the South," and it
Mhm.
looked good enough,
Yeah.
and we were like, "We know banana pudding.
Yeah.
We gotta give it a try."
So your traditional banana pudding can be done in different ways, but her traditional one was just vanilla pudding with the banana slices and vanilla wafers.
Mhm.
Um, but the one that we got, it was a peanut butter and chocolate banana pudding. So instead of Nilla wafers, she used like Nutter Butters, um, and it had peanut butter drizzle, peanut butter chips, chocolate chips, and the vanilla pudding with the bananas inside, and just all of that together,
Mm, it was so
literally
good.
just makes me wanna melt.
And I know I tell people that flavor combo sometimes, and they're like, "Bananas and chocolate and peanut butter," and I'm like, "Don't knock it till you try it."
Mhm.
I think you were the first one to ever try it, and it was in a milkshake form,
Oh, yeah.
and it was a chocolate peanut butter banana milkshake,
Mhm.
and again, I'm like, "What? That doesn't make
Mhm.
any sense." But then you were like, "Well, remember when you go to, like, a fondue restaurant, you get dessert and the melted chocolate at the end, you get the peanut butter and chocolate fondue, and then the fruit plate comes out to dip it in, it has bananas," and I'm like, "Oh, you're right. That's,
Yeah.
like, one of the best parts of it,
Right.
is the bananas dipped in that chocolate." It's the
Yeah.
same thing, you're just in different formats.
Yep. Yeah, it was really good, and our overall time there was really fun,
We went on a
for
Sat it was a Saturday afternoon, so it was definitely
that's
busy.
what I was about to say was,
Yeah.
like, I would maybe, if I were to go back, go on a maybe less busy time frame because me as someone who I don't I can do crowds, like, obviously, we go to Disney and the theme parks and everything like that, but I
It was tighter
definitely
quarters.
yeah, I definitely get a little more overwhelmed when it comes to a lot of people moving, around me, so if that is something that you aren't really the biggest fan of with people being so close to you, uh, maybe go on a time where it's not as busy. But because it is a tourist area with locals there, it's hard to kind of pick a less busy time.
And when she was telling me about it, I was like, "Oh, it's probably one of those tourist things where it's not really lo," and then I started hearing a bunch of people like, "You gotta go, you gotta go." And we finally went and, like, no, there were a lot of locals there, like,
Yeah.
getting their produce or getting a dozen donuts to take back home to their family
Mhm.
or, like, um, "Oh, my favorite cheesesteak is here," or whatnot, and then you
Yeah.
had tourists walking around because it is an advertised
Yeah.
place to go experience, but I if we go back, I to Philly, I'm definitely going back there and
Yeah.
trying things that I didn't try.
I mean, they had every type of food you could imagine of whatever genre you can think of. They had soul food, they had like your classic
Caribbean,
yeah, Caribbean cheesesteaks,
Indian,
in
Thai,
yeah,
Chinese, delis, everything.
yeah, literally, if you can think of it, they probably had a booth for
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
There were so many things we walked by and we're like, "Ooh, I wish we could try."
yeah,
And we were stuffed afterwards,
mhm.
and,
We also had a plane to catch.
yeah, we had to go to the airport, but it was a good time.
Mhm.
Being foodies and liking to try a bunch of stuff, that was a place. That was a
Yeah.
good, like, cap. I was like,
Mhm.
"Alright,
Yep.
I'm satisfied."
Yep. It was a really good trip overall. I wanted to ask you, what are some of, like, your yays or nays of our trip? like, in general?
Well, let's start out with the nays,
Okay.
end on a high note.
Sure.
I would say some of the nays for me, the one thing that I noticed starting out was how many people smoked cigarettes
Mhm.
walking around the street. Downtown Philly is a very walkable area. We didn't use a car the entire time we were there except to get from the airport and back to the airport, and both times we used Lyft,
Mhm.
as a rideshare, but we walked everywhere, and I was just shocked at how many people were smoking cigarettes, and
Yeah.
like, I didn't have an answer
Yeah.
to what the reason was for. I don't know if it's just the amount of people that live down there and there's a statistical thing to it, this many people are going to smoke, but it was definitely something noticeable.
Yeah.
Me and you that are not prone to cigarette smoke and like being around cigarette smoke is definitely something like that I took note of.
Yeah, I would say with me being very sensitive to cigarette smoke and cigar smoke and really any kind of smoke, I get kind of bad headaches with it. So I had to be very aware of my surroundings with people smoking and holding my breath and when I walked past them and things like that. So if you are also sensitive to cigarette smoke like I am, that might be something worth noting. But for me, I think that something maybe on a nay for me was with this being my first time going to a big city, uh, I will say maybe not the city to be walking around by yourself in, just because, you kinda just have to keep your head on a swivel at all times, like, when we walked, Chinatown, it was dark out, and so I kinda, like, kept looking around, making sure nobody was following us, and we went into basically like a Dollar General of Chinatown, and, somebody followed us, pretty close behind us, and it kind of, like, gave me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, but nothing obviously happened, but in general, I think it's a city that you definitely have to keep your head on a swivel. Here in Orlando, everybody is a tourist. I'm sure there is obviously crime and things like
Oh
that
no, there is.
everywhere.
And what you're saying is big city
Yeah.
advice in general.
Yeah.
New York, Las Vegas, LA,
Mhm.
um, downtown Orlando at night, like,
Yeah.
any of the large cities, the metropolitan cities like that, it's going to you just gotta use common sense,
Yeah. Like,
essentially,
don't look like a tourist, like, we saw a lot of people that were, like, just I mean, we used our phone to kind of navigate, like, the walking path of how to get to places, but, like, there were people that were, like, literally spinning in circles trying to figure out,
yeah.
like, the best way, like, with using their phone, looking up, looking down, looking sideways, like, they looked lost,
Once we
and
kinda got a feel of how it feels to walk down the sidewalk in the street and it's busy and everything like that, I kinda was like, "Before we leave somewhere, wherever we are, let's have our plan and look like we know what we're doing."
Mhm.
I think that's the big thing. If you just are walking briskly, you know what you're doing, you just look like you're part of the crowd.
Yeah.
It was very noticeable to see like people with, fanny packs or big backpacks and like taking lots of pictures of random things or like
Mhm.
holding their phone up because they're looking at Google Maps like you were saying and trying to walk
Mhm.
like you said we used the maps on our phone but we were like okay, we've got 5 blocks to walk and you put it back in your pocket and just walk
Yeah.
and not even look like that. So it was, I think that's general advice for every big
Yeah.
city, but I know for you experiencing that for the first time, I would say don't go alone.
Yeah.
Like, don't if you're new to that place, like, or new to any city, don't walk around there by yourself,
Yeah.
especially the later it gets at night. Like,
Mhm.
be smart.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an unsafe. I didn't feel at any point like I'm in a bad situation. I didn't feel like that at
No, I
all.
didn't feel that either, but I mean, there were definitely like the people who are less fortunate that were like asking for money or asking for things. And like the Southern kindness in my heart wants to help, but at
Mhm.
the same time, like we had a mission to get somewhere and you
Yeah.
can't help everybody type of thing. So it's, it's just about being safe and everything like that for me, but, yeah, that was I would say that was maybe an A for me was just, like just kinda mental energy I had to use to kind of keep my head on a swivel at all
And
times.
I think the more you travel, the more you'll get accustomed to what it might feel like and what you'll have to do, and it'll just be kind of normal. I mean, people live there,
Yeah,
and they're fine.
yeah. They're okay.
um,
I know for you, I think the bathroom situation was a little bit of an
I think that's
annoyance.
for everybody. I just wasn't expecting it. It caught me off guard. And I know this might sound weird, but like since this is a walkable city, and you're in like people's neighborhoods essentially, but there's stores mixed in, restaurants
Mhm,
mixed in everywhere.
mhm.
If you have to go to the restroom, you're out of luck unless you wanna go into that place of business and purchase something.
Yeah.
Every restroom almost that we came across in a business had a lock on the door, and
Mhm.
when you go up to the counter and say, "Can I use the restroom?" They're like, "We'll give you the code if you purchase something."
Yeah.
I was like, "I just really need to use the bathroom."
Yeah.
Or take our cheesesteak situation. I just wanna wash my hands,
Yeah.
and I couldn't after getting all the cheese and grease on my hands, and
Mhm.
even, like, there was a little grocery store, like, a big name grocery store, that took up a whole block, like, "Nope, need a code."
Yeah.
It was just very interesting and something we're not used to, because
Mhm.
you're even living in North Carolina and now living here in Florida, you gotta use the restroom or whatever, you just go in and it's
Yeah.
fine. I get why it was set up like that. I get there's a whole expense to taking care of
Yeah,
the
like the
restroom
cost
and the
thing.
products that they have to use and the materials and the cleaning. I get it.
And
I'm not
also maybe
against
even
it.
the safety behind it too,
Yeah.
like, you don't just want random people,
Yeah.
like, going into and disheveling
Yeah.
things, you know?
Like I said, totally get it. It was just something me and you noted
Mhm.
and we're like, "Oh, okay. Good to know."
Yeah.
Another thing that caught me off guard, the temperature,
Yeah.
the weather there, and, we're used to, obviously being in Florida now where it's warm and, the sun's out, and even North Carolina was the same, but walking around the city, you don't get the sunshine until the sun's, like, high noon,
Mhm.
and so the warmth of the sun doesn't hit the city streets, and so you're walking around the shade, and the breeze is blowing, and it's a little colder,
Yeah, there were,
so
like, wind tunnels because of the
mhm.
buildings, so it was definitely something that we had to acclimate to pretty quickly for the amount of time we were there.
But overall, I really enjoyed the trip. I wanna go back and see a few of the things that we didn't get to see historic wise and
Mhm.
whatnot. I think some of the yays for me, or I'd say one yay was I think they had a good diversification of food.
Mhm. I
Um,
agree. I
I
think a yay for me was, how welcoming they are to different, subgroups and cultures and
yeah,
things like that. Like, they are very LGBTQ plus friendly there, and very progressive
not even just
things
that, but like cultures from around the
and
world.
that too.
It was a melting pot
Yeah.
situation similar to New York.
Yeah.
I mean, this is America's oldest city,
Mhm.
essentially, so you can imagine
Yeah.
what it's like. Question for you,
Yes.
I know we wanna go back and see some things we did. Would you ever live in a place like that? The way it's, like, downtown living and, like, you're right off the street and everything's walking distance.
I think for me, I would say maybe if I was in, like, my 20s, I would be
Yeah,
interested in doing it, but for us in our 30s now, I am very much like not necessarily a homebody, but I like my separation of work, home, and fun. Like,
yeah,
I don't necessarily want to be right on top of either one of those
mhm,
things. Like, if I'm at home, I don't want to be right on top of the fun stuff because then I feel like I can't relax. And am if I work is right on top of like the fun stuff, then it's like, "Oh, I wish I could be there doing the fun stuff."
yeah.
Like, so it's I like the separation of those entities in my life living down here. So for me, I think it's a good place to visit. For me, it's not a place that I would be really driven to live in.
Yeah, for me, I think when you first see it, it's intriguing. When you think about it briefly, it's intriguing.
Mhm.
And then when you're really like walking through the area and you're like trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes that lives there, I'm like, I don't know if I would really enjoy it.
Mm.
It's everybody's on top of you.
Yeah.
Not literally, but it just felt like Like,
I mean, in a way they are because you have the row homes, you
mhm.
have apartments, you have condos.
For me, I think it's like the separation of privacy.
Yeah,
I mean, you're walking down the sidewalk and you just stick your arm out and you're touching somebody's front door.
yeah. There were some pretty cool doors. That was a yay for me.
All the doors.
There were some really cool doors, like, the architecture, it just fascinated me.
Yeah.
Um, but, I know getting down there and coming back, it was free.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know if you wanted to talk now about the financial side behind it.
Yeah, we'll quickly go through this and wrap our trip up. Kind of how we did this. I know we mentioned earlier how we did it kind of for free, basically. Essentially, we're using the credit card points game. And for those that are not familiar, if you use certain different credit cards, they'll give you points, and you can use those points for lots of different things. But the best way to use those points is on travel. And every major credit card company has a travel credit card, and they'll offer it in points or miles or however they want to do it. But it all works similar. The only things that don't work are the cashback cards in a
Mhm,
way. That's a future topic and future episode. But cashback is cashback, points are points. You can redeem the points for lots of things. Like you can redeem the points as cashback. You can redeem the points for like gift cards and things like that. But the best way to use the points is for travel.
mhm,
And that's what we did for this. At the time of this trip, we had two travel credit cards. Our primary one that we used to book our flights was the Built credit card. And I know that doesn't sound familiar to a lot of people, but it's a newer company on the scene. It's essentially a rewards platform. So there's a Built Rewards, and you can go to the website, and it's like a community rewards thing around this ecosystem. But there's a credit card that you can add on top of this. And what makes it interesting, this is the only credit card that you can pay your rent with, and that's a big deal because before, I mean, everybody knows you pay the rent and you're like, okay, I didn't get anything for that. But now you can get something for paying the rent and it adds up. The credit card is backed by Wells Fargo, and I know that's going to change in the next coming years. But for us, we sold our house in North Carolina and we moved down here, and we knew we were going to rent for a while. And I wanted something, in return for it. And I found this credit card, and basically, we get one times points back on every dollar spent on rent. And I know one times doesn't sound like much, but that's better than nothing since nowhere else is doing it. And you might be saying, like, Charlie, what about the credit card fee that you have to pay to use your credit card to pay the rent? Well, guess what? They take care of that for you. So it's essentially the same as paying it
through
through
your
your checking
checking.
account.
Mhm,
But I mean, for example, if your rent is $2,000 a month, you're getting 2,000 points every time you pay rent. And it adds up quickly. Like that's
mhm,
24,000 points at the end of the year. On top of if you're using your credit card for like dining and things like that, that gets you even more points. So essentially, we built up accumulation of points through the Built Rewards program, primarily by paying our rent. And one of the best way to redeem your points is using it for travel, but to transfer those points to a travel partner. And luckily, one of the travel partners that Built has is Southwest. So we were able to transfer the amount of points that we needed over to Southwest and use the Southwest points then to redeem for essentially a free flight.
mhm,
The only thing that we had to do was pay $22 and some change for taxes and fees, but our round trip flight on Southwest for both of us was entirely paid for by points.
mhm.
And those points were earned by everything that we already spend on rent, gas,
Dining.
groceries, dining, everything like that. So it wasn't like we were using those points or earning those points with stuff that we didn't need. We were using those already.
Mhm,
And then how we booked the hotel for free, the Lowe's Hotel in downtown Orlando, was we have a Chase credit card, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. This one does have an annual fee of $95, but the stuff that you get for it completely cancels out the fee. One of the perks with it is that you get a $50 travel credit every year. And so we're able to use the $50 travel credit towards the hotel. And this time we didn't transfer to Lowe's because Lowe's is not a transfer partner of Chase, but we were able to go through the Chase travel portal and use our points there. And again, get our hotel room for free. We didn't even have to pay any taxes and fees for that.
And Chase, back when we initially got that card, it had a introductory offer where if you spent a certain amount within like X amount of months, you got 100,000 points.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the bulk of how
Yes.
we got the points in the first place. But again, we were earning those points just by doing our regular spending of groceries and gas, dining, all the other
And
things.
the Bilt credit card versus a Chase credit card, obviously they do points, but their earning categories are a little bit different. And so you can kind of say, I'm going to use this card for this and use this card for that so that you can maximize the amount of points that you're getting for each
Mhm,
purchase, which is helpful because we had this essentially goal of we want to use our credit cards to earn points so we can redeem the bulk of our travel expense for free.
mhm.
And this is our first time doing it, and it worked out really well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. If you want to in the future, or if anybody wants to, we can go into depth even more about these topics. We can talk in detail about a little bit more how it works. But I will say, in the meantime, just some advice. I want to preface this by saying everything about the credit cards and the financial stuff that we're talking about is not financial advice. These are just things that we do, and we wanted to share how it works.
Yeah, neither of us are licensed to give any kind of financial
Yeah.
advice or anything like that. This is just, like Charlie said, how we were able to make it work.
Yeah, and I know you could essentially copy what we do, and if you have questions, please ask. But there are a couple things that I do recommend if you go down this route. One, you cannot carry over balances on the credit card.
Mhm,
If you carry over a balance, that means you're accumulating interest on the balance that you have on purchases. When you accumulate the interest, you essentially negate all the reward benefits that you have because the
mhm.
interest rate is so much higher that it cancels out. Well, I got 5,000 points for that purchase, but you've held the
And now you
amount
have, like,
over for 3 months now.
27% interest.
And yeah, I mean, with interest rates the way they are on credit cards, I mean, you're completely negating it. So you cannot hold a balance over. Also, if you know you're not responsible with credit card usage, don't even worry about it. Like, for example, if you see that you have a $10,000 limit on your credit card and you can't control not spending all the way up to the $10,000, this is not a good scenario for you to use. So, just a
Mhm,
couple little tidbits of recommendations that I like to tell people when they're like, "Oh, that
mhm,
sounds like a good idea." But I would say make sure you're not doing those two things. Otherwise, you're completely negating the whole
mhm.
process.
Yep,
Essentially, when it comes down to it, we're very disciplined on what we're spending on our cards, and when we pay them off every month, and we're getting something in return,
yeah.
and that is fun experiences and travels. But, I know this is something that you're not too privy to or like delving into. You kinda let me do the bulk of it.
Yes.
Maybe one day, if people are interested in or we're interested in talking about it a little bit more, we can dive a little more deep into more of what we do, but just wanted to give an overview of how we said we went there for free.
Yep,
Basically, when we got there, all we did was pay for food,
and the activities, yeah.
which was nice, which we got points back for using.
Exactly. So, to kinda close out, uh, this episode, I have one more question for you, and that is, like, bullet points of what would you like to do next time we go?
Yeah, I wanna go inside some of the historic places that we weren't able to go to because of the shutdown.
Mhm,
I wanna go to the oldest street in America. I don't know
mhm,
why that's of so much interest to me. I know it's
mhm.
just probably a small little
It
street,
is,
but
it's
it's
like a
just
little alley, but
yeah.
it looks so
It
cool.
looks it's just interesting to be there. I think it would be fun to go to a Philly sports event,
Mhm.
whether it be baseball, basketball, football. I know Philly sports fans are wild
They're
and
very
very
intense.
enthusiastic towards their teams, so it'd
Yes.
be cool to go to. But there's one that I know
Yes.
you want
The
to go to.
one that we wanted to go to this time, but we just ran out of time, it's the East State Penitentiary, and it's basically an old jail that they housed, obviously, criminals, felons, all the things, and They give walking tours, or you can do a self-guided tour with, like, a little headset thing, but that is the one thing I really wanted to do this time, and we just couldn't make it happen just because we would have had to get a lift there. It wasn't really walking.
Timing
Yeah,
didn't work.
but gives us an excuse to go next time.
Yeah. So if you guys have ever been to Philly or you live in Philly and you have other recommendations for other people or us the next time we go ahead and like leave us a comment, let us know what they are. And yeah, I'd be interested to see what else is there to do.
Mhm.
I don't know when we're gonna go back, but we'll eventually end up going back.
So, overall, thank you guys for listening to us today. And you can follow us on Spotify and YouTube, or where we post our podcast. But we do post a lot on Instagram and Facebook as well. So, feel free to give us a like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Y'all know what to do. And until next time, dine boldly, dream freely, and remember, there's no one to tell us no.
And as they say in
Goodbye.
Philly, go birds.
Bye, guys.